The millionaire's shocking request leaves the waitress speechless after an incredible twist. It was just another chaotic Tuesday at Café Solstice, where the smell of fresh coffee mingled with the chatter of bustling patrons. Sarah, a 30-something waitress with dreams parked somewhere beyond the city's skyline, hurried to the corner table, her shoulders tight with the weight of overdue bills. The rush crackled with energy. She barely registered the sharp suit or the striking features of the man who drew her attention. Victor Sterling, the elusive millionaire known for his ruthless business tactics, had entered, the kind of presence that silenced a room. The air shifted, and the sound of silverware clinking grew faint around her as she approached. He waved his hand, casually summoning her as if she were part of an elaborate play. "Coffee," he said, his voice deep and steady, yet somehow tinged with an undercurrent of vulnerability. The way he spoke grabbed her attention. Sarah couldn't ignore the faint trace of a tremor in his jaw. She served him, her heart racing. With an awkward smile, she nearly knocked over the steaming cup, splashing coffee on the pristine tablecloth. A quick gasp escaped her lips, but instead of anger, his lips turned upward, softening his hard facade. "Guess we both have our little mishaps today," he said, chuckling lightly. There was something magnetic in that moment, a spark of connection in the midst of chaos. Intrigued, she decided to engage. "You've had a busy day." "More like a busy life," he replied, his gaze momentarily distant. The glint in his eyes told stories of betrayal and loss, just waiting to surface. Days turned into weeks, and their casual encounters increased. They shared stolen moments amidst the clatter of plates and laughter of patrons. Eventually, Victor invited Sarah to dinner, and curiosity eclipsed her better judgment. Under the soft glow of candlelight, layers peeled back. Vulnerability hung between them, raw and palpable. But just as her feelings blossomed, he dropped a bombshell. "I want you to help me expose the corruption in my family business." His dark eyes searched hers, a flicker of desperation shining through. It was shocking, disorienting, and oddly compelling. "Why me?" she stammered, the lump in her throat growing as she considered the vastness of what he was asking. Was he truly inviting her into his tumultuous world, filled with shadows of greed and darkness? Or was this all a game, a test? A chill raced down her spine when she learned of Victor's estranged sibling, a cutthroat rival with a vendetta. He was ready to consider eliminating anyone who stood in his way, Sarah included. As she looked into Victor's haunted gaze, fear crept in. Yet her heart clenched at the thought of turning away. Caught between her growing affection and an impending storm, Sarah grappled with her fears. Would she risk everything for him? As the stakes escalated, one question loomed. What sacrifices would she make for a man who might just be a reflection of the chaos within his own family? Hey, before we continue with this incredible story, I need to give you an important warning. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube removed their subscriptions without notice. Just take a quick look at the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I don't want you to miss any exclusive content coming up. And since you're here, smash that like button because it really helps me with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who is part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's interact. Caught between her growing affection and an impending storm, Sarah grappled with her fears. She stared into Victor's intense gaze, a mix of resolve and uncertainty swirling inside her. What sacrifices would I make for him? Her heart raced. Do you remember that charity gala I mentioned? Victor's voice brought her back, steely determination now lining his tone. I want you to go with me. It's the perfect opportunity to dig deeper without raising any flags. You know how to blend in. I don't know, Victor. This feels dangerous, she murmured, a knot forming in her stomach. Trust me. We can gather intel on my brother, he urged, his desperation becoming palpable. But just as Sarah opened her mouth to respond, the cafe door swung open with a vengeance. The wind howled outside, sending a chill through the room. In storming the entrance was a familiar face. Victor's estranged sibling, Noah. Victor, Noah's voice boomed, cutting through the air like glass shattering. Heads turned, whispers flared up. Sarah's heart skipped. The intensity radiating from Noah was fierce, eyes blazing with unfiltered rage. "Get out of my way or I'll expose everything," Victor shot back. Rising from his seat, tension coursing between them like live wire. The cafe atmosphere shifted, patrons shrinking back, eyes darting, unwilling to catch the falling debris of their feud. "Everything? You mean your little secret?" Noah smirked. The gleam in his eyes darkened with malice. "How romantic, you and your beloved waitress." His gaze landed on Sarah, assessing her with venomous scrutiny. "Stop it, Noah," Victor barked, fists clenched at his sides. Noah took a step closer, voice lowering, the intensity boiling down to a whisper that made Sarah shiver. "You think she doesn't know? You never mentioned the money, did you? Or how she's just another pawn in your little game. A distraction, just like all the others." A gasp escaped Sarah's lips. The blood drained from her face. "What do you mean?" she asked. But deep inside, a sense of dread began to settle in her core. "Did you really think he cared about you? That him building a D—" "Stop," Victor shouted, stepping forward, shielding her with his body. But the reality was crashing into her, hard. Her breath became shallow, panic knotting her throat. Noah slowly revealed a piece of paper, a photo. "I have proof," he said, voice sharp. "Victor's playing the long game. That's not just your coffee he's after. You're wrapped up in this mess now, Sarah." The cafe was silent. Every patron, including the barista, stood frozen, eyes glued to the unfolding drama. A storm brewing in a cup of coffee and deceit. As she grasped the edge of the table to steady herself, Sarah could see the photo. It was one of Victor, standing hand in hand with another woman, glamorous and sophisticated, the shadow of a shared life lurking behind them. "Victor, is this true?" The words shattered in the air, raw and piercing. Victor's face twisted with fury and anguish. "I can explain." But before he could finish, Noah laughed, a cold, hollow sound. "Right, explain how you fell for a waitress. Did you think I wouldn't find out?" Sarah's heart pounded, confusion settling like a heavy weight. This was her moment. She could run, she could turn away, but instead, she stood frozen, uncertain amidst the imploding chaos around her. "Why, Victor?" she whispered, the vulnerability in her voice piercing through the storm. And as their worlds collided under the weight of truth, one question echoed louder than the rest in her mind. Could she trust him, or was she just another pawn in a twisted family game? "Why, Victor?" she whispered, the vulnerability in her voice piercing through the storm. Victor's eyes darted, rage morphing into desperation. "Sarah, it's not what you think." "Then what is it?" She recoiled, the walls closing in around her. The cafe felt too small. Noah's smug grin pierced through the sea of whispers, every patron's gaze a weight on her shoulders. Victor opened his mouth, but before a word came out, the cafe door burst open again. This time, it wasn't just wind and cold. A group of men in black suits stormed in, faces masked with determination and something darker. They moved as one, sharp and swift, cutting through the stunned crowd. "Victor Sterling," one shouted, voice like thunder. "You're coming with us." "What?" Panic surged through Sarah. All eyes turned back to Victor, whose face shifted from rage to sheer horror. Suddenly, the air was thick with tension. "Get away from him," she shrieked, stepping instinctively closer to Victor. But the men advanced, positioning themselves like wolves closing in on the last deer. "Don't," Victor started, but before he could finish, one of the men grabbed his arm with a grip of iron, muscles coiling tightly around Victor's wrist. "You're putting us all in danger," the man hissed, eyes locked onto Sarah. "You need to come with us too." "What?" "No, I'm not going anywhere with you." The words flew out, loud and strong. But the chill in their eyes spoke of something worse than she could imagine. You don't understand, Noah interjected, a manic edge to his tone. This is not just about family issues or some twisted cat-and-mouse game. This is about your life. What? Sarah's heart thundered. Shadows danced across the walls of her mind, threats swirling, suffocating. What are you talking about? It's all a lie. He spat. Rage bubbling over. Victor isn't who you think he is. He's been living in a carefully constructed facade. Suddenly it clicked. The dots she never quite connected. Behind closed doors, his family wasn't just powerful. They were something darker. Victor caught her gaze, eyes pleading. You have to trust me, Sarah. The men in suits pulled out phones, showing images of charts, connections. Each line spiraled deeper into darkness. Evidence, one of them said, voice steely. We have proof of serious dealings you're unaware of. Sarah felt the ground shift beneath her feet. The cafe, the bustling life around them, it all blurred into a whirlpool of chaos. Dealing what? With who? Drugs, money laundering, and more. And all tied to the Sterling Empire, the suited man explained, his voice void of emotion. Noah, you'll put her at risk if you don't tell her the truth now. Me? Noah's expression twisted as he turned to Victor. I won't be the one to break her. But Victor cut in, voice breaking through the chaos. Noah, you're right. It's time she knows. The cafe slipped into a strange sort of silence. People had stopped whispering. All eyes were glued to the unfolding horror, like a train wreck. Know what? Sarah breathed, her pulse racing. Victor, you have to tell me now. He hesitated. The tension wrapped around them like a noose, time grinding to a halt. I'm not who you think I am. My family, they're involved in things you can't even imagine. And I've been trying to save you from it. Her heart raced, confusion crushing her. She saw the truth hanging between them, glimmering with the weight of secrets. How can I believe? You? Noah shouted, turning back to Sarah, face twisted with emotion. You need to walk away now. Leave while you still can. But the men tightened their grip on Victor, their resolve hardening. We're not letting him go without taking you too. Then Sarah felt it, the world tilting, her heart hammering in her chest. She faced the man holding Victor, whose cold gaze sent shivers rippling through her. What do you want from us? Everything, he said flatly, or there will be consequences. And just as panic washed over her, the cafe lights flickered, then plunged into darkness. Screams erupted as the patrons scrambled, chaos exploding like a sudden storm. In the murky darkness, Sarah felt Victor's hand grasp hers. Trust me, he shouted through the clamor, desperation laced with urgency. We can survive this. But as she squeezed back, the weight of secrets hung heavy in the air. She could barely breathe, and within her, the storm raged on. Will you trust me to lead you through this? His question pierced through the tumult. But as the weight of the unknown bore down on her, one thought echoed louder than her racing heartbeat. Was Victor really the ally she thought he was, or the danger she had yet to uncover? The cafe lights flickered again, plunging them deeper into uncertainty. Heart racing, Sarah grasped Victor's hand tighter. What do you mean we need to trust you? She shouted, battling the chaos around her. The darkened space felt like a suffocating blanket, shadows creeping closer. Sarah, Victor began, but out of nowhere, a deafening crash erupted. The cafe's front window shattered, shards glistening like deadly confetti. A figure dashed through the jagged opening, lithe and swift, dressed in black. Get down, they shouted, voice slicing through the panic. The crowd erupted into screams, some diving beneath tables while others pushed toward the exits. Who are you? Victor asked, his voice straining against the noise. You need to leave now. The figure lunged forward, grabbing Victor's arm, urgency etched into their features. But before they could pull him away, the men in suits moved, their faces stone cold. Don't let them take him, Sarah screamed, adrenaline surging through her. The moment felt surreal, painted in shades of fear and desperation. Stop, the suited man shouted, whipping around. You have no idea what you're getting into." The stranger threw a quick glance at Sarah, a flash of recognition sparking in their eyes. "Sarah, you have to trust me. Get away from him." "How do you know my name?" she shot back, her heart thundering in her chest. Confusion wrapped around her like a noose. "Now's not the time, just run." They turned to Victor, a hint of desperation cracking their tough demeanor. "Victor, you can't stay here. We're outnumbered." But before she could process anything, Noah stepped forward, eyes blazing like fire. "This is your fault, Victor. All of this." The tension thickened, a live wire humming in the air. "What did you do?" Sarah's voice barely escaped her throat, limping through disbelief. "Just get out," the stranger shouted again, grabbing Victor's other arm. She could see the panic forming in their eyes. Suddenly, the cafe door swung open again, slamming against the wall. A woman stepped in, a striking figure with platinum hair, exuding authority. "What's going on?" she demanded, her gaze slicing through the chaos like a knife. "Ellie." Victor's expression morphed into horror. Recognition twisted his features into a grimace. "What are you doing here?" "Saving you," she replied coolly, yet her eyes burned with something deeper. "You've messed up big time. They're coming for you." "Who?" Sarah's mind raced. Who was this woman? What mess were they caught in? "They know you're here," Ellie continued, dismissing Sarah. "The family, the syndicate, they think you stole something. Something that doesn't belong to you." Victor's face drained of color. "They can't." But before he could finish, Ellie lunged forward, eyes focused on the men in suits. "You need to leave, now. We have seconds before they breach the back." "Stolen what?" Sarah asked, dread creeping in. But before Victor could answer, the doors burst open again, revealing a group of enforcers. Dressed in tactical gear, they flooded in like a wave, eyes trained on Victor, then glancing at Sarah with sinister calculation. "Victor Sterling, you're coming with us," one barked, stepping forward, energy crackling. "Wait," she shouted, but panic caught in her throat. What does this even mean? The tension snapped. The men surged toward Victor and the stranger, but Ellie stepped in front. "You'll have to go through me first." In that moment, Sarah felt the ground shift again. Bursts of panic and revelation collided. Trust? Lies? Her heart sank deeper as she realized she was standing in the center of a storm much bigger than herself. "Vic, please," she breathed, a part of her overwhelmed with fear. "Tell me what's happening." Then, as if things couldn't escalate further, a blinding flash filled the room. Gunfire rang out, echoing off the walls like thunder. In that fraction of a second, everything erupted into chaos. Bodies collided, shouts mixed with screams, and Sarah stood at the eye of the storm, trying to understand, a whirlwind of betrayal and truth swirling around her. "Will you trust me now?" Victor shouted as the dust began to settle. But beneath all the noise, a new question gnawed at her. Who really stood by her side, and what could she possibly believe now? The gunfire echoed, sharp and unforgiving, as chaos swallowed the cafe. Victor's grip tightened around Sarah's hand, his eyes blazing with urgency. "Trust me," he yelled again, his voice strained, slicing through the panic. The figure in black pushed closer, a fierce protector in the storm. "We can't stay here. We have to go, now." "There." Words poured out like steam, frantic and heavy with dread. But something felt off. The air thickened, a tension that crackled around them. "What are we running from?" Sarah screamed, her heart pounding, panic clawing at her throat. Then, in an instant, it all changed. The sound of gunfire shifted to a hollow thud. A sudden stillness washed over the chaos, and all eyes turned to the door. The intruders were momentarily frozen, caught off guard, shadows flickering in the half-light. Suddenly, a woman stepped forward from the outside, a fierce silhouette against the breaking dawn. Dressed in all black, she moved with purpose, cool and collected, as if she owned the night. "Victor," she called, voice ringing like a bell through the tumult. "Who is that?" Sarah's voice barely rose above a whisper, confusion spiraling within her. "Just stay back," Victor commanded, holding Sarah protectively as the woman drew nearer. But the surprise in the air thickened, taut as a wire. And then, the weight of the moment landed. Time slowed. The mysterious woman pulled a sleek device from her jacket, what looked like a detonator, glinting ominously, sending a ripple of horror through the crowd. "No," Sarah gasped, eyes wide, her heart racing. "What are you doing?" Victor's face paled, the color draining as recognition lit his eyes. "Elena, you can't do this." "What choice do I have?" she snapped, voice steady, unyielding. "You brought this on yourself, Victor." Into dread, branching deep in Sarah's gut. "What is going on?" she cried, panic racing as adrenaline surged. "They're coming for you, Elena," Victor shouted, desperation threading his tone. "This isn't the answer." The patrons around them began to murmur, a swell of anxiety and disbelief. The stranger glared, eyes fierce, her resolve unwavering. "You know what your family has done. I won't let you get dragged into this." "No, you don't understand," Victor shouted. But before he could say more, Elena pressed the button. A low rumble erupted from the device, and the ground shook beneath them. "No, no, no!" Sarah's mind spun, heart pounding against her ribs. This was real. This was happening. Suddenly, there was a blinding flash, a wave of heat, and everything collapsed into chaos. Sarah's senses slammed into overdrive. People screamed, furniture toppled, and the world spun. Was this the end? The very ground beneath her shattered as she clung to Victor. In the midst of the storm, whispers erupted through the cafe. "She's working with him," one man shouted, eyes wide, fear thickening in the air. "They're in on it together." "Victor, what's happening?" Sarah gasped, her breath catching in her throat, echoing the panic around her. But there was a flicker of something in his eyes, anger mixed with desperation. "This is the deceit, Sarah. It's never been just my family." As silence crashed like a tidal wave, the once casual cafe transformed into a battlefield. Bitter reality slammed into Sarah. Victor wasn't just some wealthy rogue. He was right at the heart of it all. Elena, breath steadying, looked between them, her gaze piercing through the debris of chaos. "You don't know the half of it. The secret. It's bigger than you think." Victor's face twisted with emotion. "Sarah, I swear, I wanted to protect you. But there's so much you don't know." As the smoke cleared, the truth began to slither through the cracks. Sarah's world shattered, and every question she held swirled back, deeper, more dangerous. "What do you mean?" she croaked, the weight of betrayal hanging like a heavy fog. Victor opened his mouth, about to confess, but then the space outside erupted. Into noise, a barrage of sirens closing in, the night air crackling with tension. And as they all turned, something collided within Sarah. Fear, anger, and an unexpected resolve. What had she stepped into? What hidden realities lurked beneath Victor's charming exterior? The storm was far from over. In a swirl of uncertainty, one thought clung onto her heart like a vice. Would she stand by him or run from the truth now slithering into the open? The gunfire faded into the background as the reality of the moment settled heavy around them. Sarah felt as if the world had dropped away, leaving just tangled emotions suspended in air. Victor's frantic eyes searched hers, desperation pouring from him. Could she trust him? Now, before she could respond, the shattered glass glimmered like diamonds around them, catching the flicker of the emergency lights that struggled against the darkness. "We can't stay," the stranger urged, pulling Victor closer, their grip fierce. "Who are you?" Sarah demanded again, the panic creeping deeper. "More importantly, who is she?" the stranger snapped, gesturing toward Elena, who stood rigid, her device still in hand. But before Victor could give his explanation, the cafe door swung open one last time. This time it was a tall figure with commanding presence, striding in with unwavering confidence. As the lights flickered more violently, shadows fell across their face. But when Sarah caught a glimpse, her throat tightened in disbelief. "Dad?" Her voice trembled, as she registered the man before her, Victor's father, the legendary billionaire, a figure sworn to secrecy. "Victor, we need to talk," he said, his voice low and authoritative, piercing through the chaos. Panic melded with confusion. This wasn't just Victor's family. It was his whole empire. "You've gone off script." Victor paled, his grip on Sarah faltering. You shouldn't be here," he stammered, eyes wide, the facade he built cracking under the weight of truth. "None of this was supposed to happen," his father shot back, anger bubbling just below the surface. The air thickened, with dread stretching the silence taut. "You're jeopardizing everything." Elena stepped forward, the tension between the two men knotting tighter. "He's innocent in this," she insisted, but it felt like a feeble attempt in the swelling storm. "Innocent?" Victor's father scoffed, dark humor lacing his voice. "My son plays a dangerous game, and you," he pointed at Sarah, "you think you're shielded from the consequences?" "What?" Sarah gasped, words clawing at her throat. The accusations rippled through her like a cold wave. "No," Victor kicked back, "she's not involved." "She doesn't get to walk away now," his father retorted, his eyes blazing. "You sucked her into our family's mess." Mind racing, Sarah stepped back, feeling like the ground had vanished beneath her. "What mess?" Her voice quaked, tethered only by Victor's presence. The moment stretched on, pushed forward by an unseen current of intensity. "You don't understand." "Do you?" Victor's father continued, his tone shifting to a dangerous whisper. "You both think this is personal, but it's not just our stakes at play. There are debts, dark commitments." Before he could finish his thought, the door behind him crashed open again. In rushed more men in black suits, faces stern, eyes narrowed. "Get away from him," one demanded, pointing at the group. "What the hell is this?" Elena shouted, stepping forward, confrontational. In one swift motion, Victor's father turned, revealing something in his hand, a small glinting device. "I'm sorry, Victor, but you made your choice." He pressed a button, and suddenly, everything shifted. The room erupted. An explosion blossomed outside, shaking the ground beneath them. The cafe's walls rattled, windows shattered, the very foundation trembling. Sarah's heart dropped into her stomach as chaos reignited. Screams echoed, the air thick with smoke and panic. Victor whipped around, face-stricken. "No," he shouted, but it was too late. The entire cafe was in upheaval, the screams turning to anguished cries, the situation spiraling into a nightmare. Desperation filled the air as he grasped Sarah's hand tightly. "We have to go, now." But in the back of her mind, the bombshell dropped heavily. Victor's father set this all in motion. She looked into Victor's eyes, fear blending with confusion. Could the man she'd started to care for genuinely be a pawn in a bigger scheme? "Victor," Sarah cried, fear cracking her voice. "What did your father do?" "Please, just trust me," he urged, pulling her close. The walls began to tremble again. And in that moment, Sarah realized she faced not just a family feud, but the question of trust again, with everything at stake. Would she stand by his side, or was she merely another piece in the dangerous game they were trapped within? And as the dust settled around them, suffocating in confusion and impending danger, the final question gripped her heart. What had they really unleashed? The cafe trembled beneath the weight of secrets and shattered glass. Sarah could hardly breathe. Victor's father stood there, a looming figure of authority in the chaotic scene, demanding answers while the sirens wailed closer. Shadows danced across the room as panic thrummed in her veins. Could she trust Victor? "Get down," a voice roared. It was the stranger again, pulling Victor away just as the men in suits surged forward. "Wait," Sarah screamed, confusion splintering her thoughts. "What's happening?" "That's not my dad," Victor gasped, the shock clear in his eyes. "That's not my father." The air hung heavy, as Sarah's mind raced to process his words. "What do you mean?" The cafe erupted into chaos again. The sound of the device Elena clutched echoed ominously, crackling like electricity. Victor's face had twisted from desperation to something else, something darker. "Get out now," he shouted, urgency cracking through his voice as the reality of what was unfolding. Pressed around them, Sarah's heart raced. "You're scaring me." His eyes captured hers for a moment, wild, vulnerable, and pleading. "I never meant for you to be dragged into this. You have to trust me." But before she could respond, the floor shook beneath them. A deafening crack echoed as if the very walls were protesting. Then the power flickered again, plunging them into shadows. "Victor," she yelled, grabbing his arm, searching for answers. "Tell me what's happening. Just tell me. That man, he's not my father." Victor's voice rose higher, panic clawing its way through as memories flickered behind his eyes. "He's the one who wants me gone. I'm nothing but a liability. A blinding flash illuminated the chaos, revealing a shocking sight. A figure appeared at the window, another woman cloaked in darkness, eyes fierce, with a cold glint of steel in one hand. "Victor, run!" she screamed. But she wasn't alone. A group of armed men followed her, their expressions grim, methods clear. "Run where?" Sarah shouted, her voice swallowed by the screams around them. "Victor." She tugged at him, her heart pounding. He was frozen, staring at the approaching figures. Then, with one swift motion, the woman hefted a weapon, pointing it straight at Victor. "No!" Sarah screamed, her feet rooted to the ground, her pulse quickening. Before anyone could react, the woman pulled the trigger. For a terrifying moment, time stood still. Everything felt suspended, the air heavy, the imminent slap of horror washing over them. But instead of blood, a flash of light erupted from the weapon, exploding outward in a dazzling display. It knocked the armed men back, creating chaos as everyone fell to the floor, shielding their eyes. "Victor, what's happening?" Sarah gasped, now wide-eyed. "Stop asking questions and move," he yelled, breaking free from his shock. He grabbed her hand, and they bolted toward the back door, adrenaline pumping through her. "Where's Elena?" she shouted, desperate to know the fate of the fierce protector. "She's dead," he replied, voice trembling. But before she could react, sharp breaths jerked away the space between them. "That's not true," a voice declared from behind. A familiar one. Elena stepped out of the shadows, alive, somber, not a scratch on her. "Cut the act, Victor. You can't keep running from your past." "What are you talking about?" Victor spat, his eyes darting between them like a pinball. Elena moved closer, her gaze steady. "You know why they're coming for you. And it's not just about family, it's the secrets." "Secrets?" Sarah echoed, dread pooling in her stomach. "What secrets?" Elena locked eyes with her. "Victor's not the one you think he is. None of this is what you believe." Terror clawed within Sarah. "Then what am I caught in?" Just then, the cafe doors flew open, revealing a stretch of sirens blaring outside. The chaos bled into the room, blending the nightmares together.
"What's true, Victor? What's the truth?"
In the rush, everything shifted. Victor's face crumpled, a mosaic of grief and fury. "I didn't want you to find out this way. But they were right. I'm not who you think I am." In that moment, Sarah felt her entire world tilt.
"What do you mean?"
Then Elena spoke a name that slammed through the air like thunder. "Victor, tell her the truth about your mother." All at once, the echoes of the past flooded back. Memories she never knew she had crashed through the darkness. Victor's face turned back to her, raw with emotion. "Sarah, I'm not just some rich kid in trouble. I'm your brother." A chill sliced through her, a sudden storm of blood and betrayal washing over. Every truth she thought she knew shattered into fragments, and as the weight of that revelation crashed over her, one question thundered in her mind. How could she share blood with a man caught in this chaos? The shock of Victor's words hung in the air, a heavy, suffocating fog. "You're my brother?" Sarah gasped, her mind swirling like a storm. Confusion clawed at her chest, tightening her throat. The cafe was alive with chaos around them, but in this moment, everything else faded away. Victor's eyes were wide, fervent. "I didn't want you to find out like this. I thought I could protect you. Protect me? From what? From the truth? Sarah's voice trembled, disbelief flooding her. What kind of family is this? Then, just as the words left her lips, the cafe doors exploded open again. This time, it was like an avalanche crashing into their lives. An armed unit stormed inside, fully geared and menacing. The air thickened with their intent, as adrenaline spiked, hearts racing like a runaway train. "Victor Sterling," one of them bellowed, pointing at him with a weapon drawn. "You're coming with us." "No," Sarah screamed, panic crashing through her. "You can't take him. Step aside," another officer barked, advancing. But Victor held his ground, eyes blazing, determination igniting within him. "You don't understand," he shouted, his voice slicing through the tension. "I'm not just some criminal. I'm trying to find out who I really am." The chaos shifted. Then something unexpected happened. An ear-splitting explosion rocked the cafe, sending dishes flying, smoke clouding their vision. The ceiling above cracked, chunks of plaster raining down. Then a figure emerged from the haze, blazing and fierce, the stranger from earlier, the one in black. But here's the twist. She tore off her mask, revealing a familiar face. "Mom," Victor croaked, disbelief flooding through him. "Victor, Sarah, we have no time," she cried, her voice edged with urgency. "They're not just here for him. They're hunting you too, Sarah." "What?" Sarah felt her body grow cold, shock freezing her in place. "You're my mother? Believe me, this is bigger than the both of you," she yelled, urgency lacing her every word. "They'll stop at nothing. We need to go, now." Before Sarah could process this whirlwind of revelations, something grabbed her wrist, a firm, cold grip. It was one of the armed men, eyes steely. "You're under arrest," he declared, yanking her toward him. "Sarah!" Victor shouted, his voice filled with raw panic. But his mom stepped between them, fierce and unwavering. "Let her go," she commanded, something in her voice resonating with authority that echoed through the chaos. And just then, the room shifted again. Sarah felt a pulse of energy, something deep and ancient swirling in the air. "They've been watching all of us. This family, our blood. It's not just about money or power. It's about survival," Victor's mother stated, her gaze fierce. "And now we have to fight back." Just then, out of the shadows, another figure stepped forward, Noah. He looked different, weathered, and yet somehow calm. "You think you can run from this?" he spat, his eyes narrowing. "Our family has secrets buried deeper than any of you know." "Secrets?" Sarah's voice cracked. "What more can there possibly be?" In that moment, Noah took a deep breath, unleashing a truth that made the air heavy with disbelief. "You're not just siblings, you're twins." The room fell silent. The air turned electric, each heartbeat echoing. Doubt etched itself on Sarah's face. "Twins?" "Yes," Noah said, voice tight, with urgency. "Separated at birth, each raised by a different family, hidden from the truth. You've both walked into a trap you had no idea existed." The weight of those words settled like stone, their implications hammering like a drum. Secrets, betrayal, and a family bound by fate, each twisted strand pulling them closer to a darkness they had yet to understand. Victor turned to Sarah, anguish in his eyes. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about the legacy we're inheriting, or escaping." As the urgency tightened around them, Sarah's mind raced. How could everything change in an instant? Who could she trust? The cafe erupted in chaos once more, tires screeching outside as the world shifted around them. With the grip of destiny tightening around their throats, one question lingered ominously in the air. Could they really find a way out together? Or was this fight only the beginning of their nightmare? The cafe felt like a war zone. Smoke curled through the air, and the screams of panicked patrons echoed around them. Sarah's heart raced as she processed Victor's revelation. Twins? Separated at birth? She barely had time to grasp the implications when the armed men advanced with grim determination, their eyes trained on Victor. "Step back," one shouted, shoving Sarah aside as they surged forward. "No," Victor roared, stepping in front of her, desperation twisting his features. "You can't take her. Victor, we have no time," his mother insisted, fear twisting her voice. "This is bigger than you know." But all Sarah could think was, how was she wrapped up in this? The fragmented moments of her life, sudden whispers, secrets concealed, flashed through her mind as if someone were pulling at a thread, unraveling everything. "Mom, what do you mean?" Victor pressed, eyes darting around the chaos. "What is happening?" Then, in the thick of the panic, a loud crash echoed from the back entrance. The emergency exit flew open, and an unexpected face tumbled in, Noah. But this wasn't the same Noah. His expression was wild, desperate. "Victor, Sarah." "What?" she gasped, her mind spinning. The man moved like a tornado through the chaos, determined, frantic. "What do you want?" "Listen to me," he shouted, his voice cutting through the noise. "You has to know the truth. They're not just after Victor. They want you both dead." "What?" Sarah's heart sank like a stone. "Why?" But before Noah could answer, the lights flickered violently, followed by a dark figure shadowing the doorway. A movement caught Sarah's eye. A glimmer. A figure stepped into the cafe, silhouetted against the frenzy. Time froze. "Stop," the figure commanded. The world seemed to hush as Ellie stepped forward. Alive, dangerous, and fierce. "No," Victor shouted, but Ellie raised her hand, silencing him with a single gesture. "This isn't what you think, Victor. I had to come. They've discovered everything." "What do you mean?" Victor spat, his voice layered with panic. "They know," she yelled, eyes blazing as if dancing with flames. "They found out who you are, who she is, and they're coming for the both of you." Sarah felt the ground beneath her shift in an instant. Her stomach twisted tightly. "What are you talking about? What have you discovered?" But then, something flickered in Ellie's eyes, a shadow of fear. "You don't understand. The truth goes deeper. You're not just twins by blood. You share more than that, much more." Another crash caught everyone's attention. A window shattering, sending glass flying. A group of armed men poured in, faces masked, weapons drawn. "Get down," shouted one of them, as the panic swelled anew. Victor seized Sarah's arm, pulling her away from the chaos, but Ellie stood her ground. "We have to end this now." Sarah's heart pounded, pulse thrumming in her ears. "Victor, what is she talking about? What else is there?" "Please, I'll explain everything," he pleaded, eyes darting between her and the advancing threat. "If we survive this." But before he could complete his thought, Noah lunged forward, grabbing Victor by the collar. "You need to know. The family, our family, they're monsters. Your whole life has been a lie." A sudden silence fell, cutting through the chaos. Sarah's breath hitched as realization dawned. The connections twisted in ways she'd never imagined. "You're not just escaping danger," Noah continued, urgency lining his voice. "You're stepping into a prophecy they've kept hidden for years." "Prophecy?" she repeated, disbelief igniting her anger. "Not this again." But Victor's expression shifted, hope mingled with despair as if a long-buried truth had roared to life. "Sarah, this could change everything." Suddenly Ellie pulled something from her pocket, a small ornate box. "You need this," she said, agency folding over her. "It's the key to everything." "What key? To what?" Sarah questioned, her mind screaming for clarity. But before she could voice another thought, a deafening boom erupted. A sharp crack sounded as a heavy beam fell from above, crashing down toward them. "Look out!" Victor's mother cried, pushing Sarah and Victor aside just in time. The chaos drowned out their cries, and when the dust cleared, the cafe was a wreck, horror spreading in thick layers of uncertainty. Victor looked at Sarah, his eyes pleading. "You have to trust me." But just then, a shocking voice rang out, sending chills down Sarah's spine. "Not so fast, brother." A figure stepped from the smoke, an older man with fierce, cold eyes who looked startlingly like Victor. "You thought you could escape me? Stunned silence enveloped her, and as reality twisted, one question stabbed through the haze. Who were they really dealing with? The revelation loomed like a dark shadow, and in that moment, an even deeper truth shook the ground beneath them. This was only the beginning. The chaos erupted like a storm, swirling around them as Victor's estranged brother stepped forward, his gaze piercing through the tension. "You think you can just walk away? You're just as much a part of this as I am." "What do you want from us?" Sarah shouted, her voice trembling yet defiant. She clung to Victor's hand, heart racing, emotions swirling like a whirlpool. "You don't know what you're involved in," Noah sneered, shaking his head. "This is bigger than you both. Your mother's legacy isn't just blood, it's power, and you're both pawns in this game." "Stop it," Victor yelled, stepping protectively in front of Sarah. "I will not let this happen." His mother's expression hardened, eyes fierce with resolve. "We do this together, Victor. You have to face what you're meant to be. The syndicate has been hunting you down. It's time to stand up." The ground beneath them seemed to shudder as the armed men tightened their formation, weaponry glinting ominously under flickering lights. Time spun off its axis, each heartbeat echoing the imminent threat. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. How had everything spiraled into this madness? No, a voice cut through the haze. Ellie, fierce and resolute, pushing past the chaos. "This ends now. You are stronger than they think." Victor turned to Sarah, eyes wild with a mix of fear and determination. "We can't let them control us. If we join forces, we can turn this around." "But how?" Sarah gasped, panic dancing in her chest. "How do we fight this?" A sudden explosion of shattering glass interrupted them, causing everyone to flinch. The world fell silent for a heartbeat, and then the air was thick with smoke and screams again. It was all collapsing around them. Noah lunged forward, reaching for Victor, but Ellie stepped in front of him, fierce as any warrior. "You will not take him," she shouted, mirroring the protective fire that surged through Victor's mother. "I won't let you choose betrayal," Noah spat, eyes blazing with anger. But before he could strike, Victor stepped forward, grounding himself. "I'm not a pawn anymore. It's time to reclaim our truth," he roared, voice echoing against the chaos. In that moment, everything shifted. With a surge of courage, Sarah stepped beside Victor, eyes locked on the chaos surrounding them. "I won't let them tear us apart," she proclaimed, voice steady. "I'll fight for the truth." Together, the power of their united front ignited something deep within the room, a tremor of hope amid the chaos. Whatever dark legacy awaited them, they would confront it hand in hand. "Let's end this," Victor's mother declared, her voice slicing through the thick tension like a knife. "For the family, for the lives we can build beyond this." Just then, the armed men hesitated, confused by their defiance. The tension in the air shifted again, but now it was charged with determination. As Noah's eyes flickered between anger and uncertainty, Sarah saw a flicker of doubt. "It's not too late," she whispered, reaching out to him, hope glimmering like a distant star. "You can still choose who you want to be." Finally, something shifted in Noah's hardened facade. His fists unclenched, eyes glistening with conflict. I don't want this either," he whispered, a ghost of vulnerability shining through his anger. Amidst the chaos, the air buzzed with newfound strength, and as the sirens blared outside grew closer, Victor and Sarah captured the moment, hearts pounding, but confidence blooming like wildfire. "A new day begins," Victor said softly, squeezing Sarah's hand tightly. And as they stepped forward together, facing their past and embracing their future, a powerful ripple surged through the space around them. Their bond, forged through fire and truth, became their shield. With that, the cafe doors swung open, revealing a path bathed in light. Together, they charged forward, ready to face whatever awaited them. Boom. You have to subscribe right now, so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash the like button right now to feed the algorithm. This is the moment to show your support and theories about this epic ending. Don't wait even one more second to share this. This is the moment to show your support.